And we're live. How's it going, Northreach? We're finally back. Welcome back to the Chopping Block, the only Amtgard podcast that's a do-it-yourself home laser eye surgery specialist by day and a podcast by night. As always, I'm your host, Hars, and sadly with me, I'm not going to be having Vex today. But we should be having her for the next episode. But returning for his second appearance on the Chopping Block, and also our second Beneath the Armor segment of the show, welcome, the region of the North himself, Minibard.
Well, hello Northreach, and hello Hars. I'm sorry that Vex isn't able to make it, but you know what? We're still going to have a super duper awesome episode.
Hell yeah. Hope Vex is doing okay. So, how's it been, Mini? It's been a hot minute since I've seen you, since Dungeon Crawl, I guess?
Yeah, it's been busy. I've been doing like a lot of traveling for work and have about other crazy stuff. Amtgard wise, it's been pretty cool. I've made just a real giant pole arm, and you can never have too many of those.
Damn right.
And the project that I've been most excited about that I've been kind of working on alongside Deli is we've been converting my shed into a workshop, and so we like winterized it and got like a space heater, and have been like putting up insulation and gonna build a workbench in there so we can have a dedicated crafting space that we can just trash.
That's awesome. I saw a bit of that.
So cool.
I saw a bit of that during Hadeline's crafting group that she set up forever ago, and I can't wait to see the finished product.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say I've been doing a whole lot Amtgard-wise. I picked up a second job recently, so I've been pretty much busy doing that, and what little time I have that I've had left was going towards either the gym, sleeping, or, well, my nerdy hobbies, including Amtgard and tabletop.
It sounds like you've got your priorities straight, though, and that's what counts.
That's fair, yeah. It's been crazy. It's gonna be a little weird this week, because I just got a bunch of anime I was watching this week just started wrapping up, so this week I don't think I'm gonna have anything to see this week.
Yeah, I haven't been watching a whole lot of anime. I weirdly started watching Storage Wars, which I made fun of for a long time, but every episode is kind of like watching someone find buried treasure.
I totally
uncomfortably
understand that.
Addicting.
It's mesmerizing, honestly. I mean, it's just the basic story of what's in the box, who gets the box, and how much is it worth.
I want to know what's in the box.
Exactly. It's like you're watching a really long, dramatically paced Loot Crate opening video or something.
Yes. Other than that, though, I'm kind of excited. I have not been watching much anime, but I'm kind of excited. I think Mickey Bard and I are gonna go see Ready Player One this weekend.
Oh yeah, I forgot that comes out this week. Actually, I guess this might date this a little bit, but as of this time, next weekend, not this weekend, but the next weekend, My Hero Academia Season 3 starts up. And I remember I don't remember if it was you or somebody else I was talking to about this.
Oh, I liked that show. I will definitely watch Season 3.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Me too. I might have to rewatch the first two seasons, because I started watching it, and realized after a few episodes that it was pretty good, and I lacked the discipline and willpower to stop myself before getting too far ahead of Cara Lee, and then she didn't want to catch up with me or start over. So I just kind of watched the whole thing without her, because I'm a monster. But I might have to marathon the first two seasons before the third one comes out, so that she can be caught up and we can watch it together.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely worth getting through. I think I started I was super off anime for a while. I'd gone entire years without actually watching anything new before this point. But right around the time My Hero Academia started up is when I started getting back into it, and I think that was probably the best breath of fresh air I needed.
It's a good one for sure. I like it.
Alright, well, as much as I like us talking about other nerd stuff, we have more important nerd stuff to be talking about. And that is, so for those of you who are just joining us and don't know what Beneath the Armor means, this is essentially a little bit more of a more focused and closed-off interview. So we won't be answering as much of the given questions we've gotten. We'll get to some if we have time at the end. But these are going to mostly be talking about who these people are before, during, and after they started doing Amtgard here. So, Minnie, how long have you been at this game for a while now? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Goodness, yeah. So I went to my first day of Amtgard back in 2001. I wish I could remember the date, but I do know that my first day of Amtgard was actually Pyro's first day of Amtgard too.
Really?
Yep. Where if you look in the orc, our first sign-in dates and first credits are on the exact same day at the exact same park.
That is amazing.
Pretty cool. So anyway, so I did Amtgard at that point, probably for 3 or 4 years, at which point I started to get terrified that I was already, like marginalizing and nerdifying myself enough in high school with all of my other nerdy things, and I was just terrified that people would discover, that I LARPed as well, and so I'm ashamed to admit it, but I just stopped doing it because I didn't want to get made fun of. But when I moved back up to Alaska back in 2014 or 15 or something like that, I was taking my little brother and sister to Wolf's Cry, and she mentioned it offhandedly, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun, I'll go, and just sort of caught me right back again. So all together, I would say maybe 8, 9-ish years, give or take, total.
Honestly, it might have been a little smarter to do like Amtgard like during the latter part of your high school years, because that's what I ended up doing to jump in. So, how did you end up like hearing about the place?
Gosh, I had a friend when I was in like 5th grade till 7th grade maybe, and his older brother did Amtgard. I think his older brother's name was Nick, and my friend's name was TC. I don't know. He moved away shortly thereafter, and so I didn't really end up knowing him that well. But his older brother did it, and we thought it was just the weirdest nerdy thing. You know, we'd hit each other with his foam swords, and so we decided to try it out when we were 14.
Damn, that's a young way to start.
Yep, we were wee little babies. Which sort of I'm pretty excited about, your exclusive photo rights, because that is a vintage of mini bard that is real good. Like, I have braces. It's so good.
I love everything about it, to be honest. Like, you can't see the finished product right now, but I kind of have the apple of my eye playing just as I cycle through all the baby mini bard pics.
Oh gosh, I mentioned it to Thror on Facebook earlier today or whatever. Sorry, one of my cats is yowling in the background for some strange reason.
It's all good.
Anyway, I mentioned it to Thror. I am 100% certain that those sneakers that I'm wearing in those photos are the coolest shoes I've ever worn in my entire life.
Yeah, I think just looking through them again. Yeah, I can agree to that. So I probably have a bit of a good idea of what you've been doing, but just for anyone who doesn't know, what have you been doing since you started up jumping into Amtgard?
Too much and simultaneously too little. Which I think kind of goes for everyone that's running for office at Amtgard all the time.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But, I've been in office a number of times. I've done PM and local monarch, stuff like that. Kingdom Regent right now. I've gone to Clan twice. I've gone to all of the local Northreach big events since I started coming back. I've taken up leatherworking and sewing and all kinds of weird stuff that I've never done before. And so it's been really, really just the coolest growing as a human experience I think that I've had in a long time.
I understand that. Because I think my introduction to just you as an Amtgarder, I don't even think it was at an event. It was either through Tour de North or before that when we were working together to write one of the corporas. I don't remember which happened first.
Yeah, I don't know. They seem equally plausible.
So we talked a bit earlier about like what you've been doing as far as ANS stuff goes, but how about like have you been doing much in terms of fighty wax?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a pretty competitive person, just in really every aspect of my life, and so I sort of seek out those things in any like hobby that I participate in, sometimes to my detriment. And I also do a lot of, and have in the past, sort of physical martial artsy type things like boxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling and so on and so forth. And so the fighty whack, like really physical portion of competitive Amtgard just really appeals to me. So I've been hitting that pretty hard. I would say over the last 4 or 5 months. Like winter is hard to do that kind of stuff, because it's just weird to find a place to do it. But, I still spend a lot of time thinking about it and watching videos online and just sort of kind of trying to like mentally process like how do fights work out, because I think that, that sort of thing is really important too. So
I totally get that. So, in talks of Fighty Wax, though, and your involvement, I know you've been to Clan a couple times, and I don't know if we talked about this in your last episode we had with you, but, and I know you're squired to Sir Sane. So
yeah.
So how did that all end up happening?
Man, so Charles is just one of the most wonderful humans. Really, I mean, like.
We learned
he's just the best. He's just the best. So, I'd been I met him when he came up for Dungeon Crawl Before Last.
Yeah.
And at the time that he came up, I actually had I had fractured a bunch of bones in my foot doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Someone fell on my heel when I was toe down, and it kind of folded my foot in half the wrong direction. And so I had this really awesome one of those like robo cam boots that I was wearing, and so I was not doing a lot of fighting at the time. But I still went to all of the, like, I helped out at Dungeon Crawl and did all kinds of crazy stuff and ran around. I like wove glow stick bracelets like through my cam boot and ran around in the dungeon, and it was great.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was good. And then, but I also, even though I couldn't fight and stuff like that, I still showed up and like attended all of the like fighting class things that Charles was teaching. And the like 2 nights at the hotel, like the two of us ended up sitting there talking for just like 5 or 6 hours, just chilling in the like hallway in the lobby and just talking and talking and talking. We just have a lot in common. We think about things the same way. Like we have a lot of similar interests, and so we talked a little bit more about fighting. And I ended up traveling down to Dallas for work, and I talked to Charles on Facebook every once in a while. I was like, "Hey man, do you have anyone down in Dallas that's like got good fighting? I'd love to go try them out." And he was like, "Oh yeah, there are a couple of people in Dallas that are good at fighting, namely like Brennan and Brett and Monkey, like some of the best fighters in all of Amtgard, essentially. Kind of there are a handful of good fighters in Dallas." So, he hooked me up with them, and that was incredible. And kind of like Monkey was just like the silver lining of that already silver trip anyway. And so I got to meet him, and we spent a lot of time talking too, and so did Brett and I. But Monkey spent a lot of time just like beating the crap out of me and explaining why it was happening. And so I just got really into fighting. and luckily, Deli has a ludicrously addictive personality just like me, and enjoys competition, so the two of us, we spent a year just beating the crap out of each other, and taking every opportunity we could to talk about it, and shared videos with each other, and would find YouTube videos on from random Amtgard fighters from whatever tiny shire in someplace in the lower 48, and we would sit there and critique them together and talk about what people did wrong and right. We just ate it up for a year, and went down to clan for the second time. And our fighting was slightly less terrible. It was not embarrassing, and that was great. And I think some of the folks that we had met already, because Monkey had come up, and Charles had been up there, were kind of impressed a little bit by the progress that we had made coming from where we were coming, where there was not a super strong fighting culture, or a strong base from which you can start, having a bunch of sword knights and warlords and so on and so forth kicking around. And so we got to fight with them a lot more and talk to them a lot. And I ended up talking to Charles, a number of times while we were down there. And one of the evenings I told him, I think it was the night that they did Hadeland's Vigil, actually. I was standing there talking to Charles, and I was like, I'd really like a chance to pick Isaac's brain before we leave, because I understand that sort of he came up in a similar situation to Deli and I, which is there was not super strong stick where he grew up, and so they just made it, and they managed to do that in a way that meant that their fighting was still good and relevant on a national level. So they managed to get really good at fighting without pigeonholing themselves into only being good at fighting the one person they were fighting all the time. And so I was like, yeah, I really want to pick Isaac's brain about that. And I think Charles was just super stoked that was even a thing that I had considered, and was like, I think you should be my squire. I'm went and had some other wheel squire run off and go get a red belt that minute, and came back and put it on me. It was all kind of a really crazy rush. It was a super crazy experience.
It sounds crazy. Holy crap.
It was bananas. And no one really realized what was happening, and then I was just kind of walking around, and I would see Goran, and Goran was would double take, and his eyes would pop out of his head, and then I walked into the tent for Hadeland's Vigil, and she was like, well, that's an awfully nice belt that you're wearing. So it was a super cool experience.
So, do you plan on going to clan again this year?
For sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, clan is a trip. I mean, it is so much fun.
Yeah, I put in the time off for work, so I'm definitely going to try going. So I wanted to get a good feel about who's going to be all in the caravan.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely go, and Mickey Bard will probably begrudgingly agree to go, and then still have a great time like she usually does. But she's always terrified about being surrounded by 600 Amtgarders with no escape, which is a super fair concern.
Yeah,
super fair.
That sounds like some sensory overload there.
Well, I mean, think about it. You're in the middle of nowhere, in the mountains, in the middle of the desert, at a what's essentially a compound that the Reformed Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so the crazy offshoot ones that are all about polygamy and whatever other crazy stuff, have this campground that they rent out.
Okay,
and so
yeah,
you're up in the mountains at a
phrase
folk
it like
campground, surrounded by 500 Amtgarders. It's a little terrifying.
Yeah, okay, when you put it like that I understand.
But she'll probably go to, and we'll have just an absolute hoot, and it'll be super fun.
Yeah, okay, so I have a proposal, Minnie. If we end up on the same caravan together, which we need to be, What we should do is do like some sort of video project, just like the Road to Clan or something from Northreach.
Oh, I was born for that, Hars. Let's go.
Hell yeah. Alright, you heard it here, folks. Get hype. Anyway, so how did you end up, like... I'm trying to, like, sort of sift through some of my own questions with the questions we have here, and one of the ones we get a lot, I don't know if we talked on it much here, but how did you end up getting your persona name? I mean, with a name like Minibard, it sounds like kind of self-explanatory, but
yeah, it's not as cool. It's not as cool of a story. I mean, so there, when I started Amtgarding, we were playing V6 rules, and V6 Bard was really cool, but not very good, I would say. But it had some really silly things you could do, so it was a blast to play. And also, Amtgard was super small, and Astral Winds was even smaller. So when I started going, there was like one other person that played a Bard, essentially, at the park, and that was Bart, or his Amtgard name was Ramiel. And so I was super excited. I was like, I love Bards. Like, I always play Bards in, like, you know, everything from, like, EverQuest through Dungeons and Dragons, like, all Bards the whole way down the line. So I started playing a Bard, and, you know, Ramiel was teaching me how to play a Bard, and it was great. But I couldn't come up with a name for a super long time, and everyone just started calling me Mini Bard, and then there was no going back.
So, if you had to choose a different name today, even though Mini Bard's pretty much stuck to you at this point, what would you have chosen?
Gosh, you know, I sat there and I thought about this for such a long time, and I just, like, I identify so strongly with the name Mini at this point that I feel like any other name that I came up with would just feel super forced. You know, you'd like roll any random number generator, you know, or name generator, and that would be fine, I guess. But I just none of them feel good. Like maybe something like it would be something really stupid. It would be like some kind of dinosaur, or like a
Minisaur.
Maybe, I don't know. It's just, it wouldn't be good, Hars. It would not be good.
Yeah, that's true. I guess Mini Bard you are, Mini Bard you shall be.
And you know, I mean, the beauty of it now is that it's ironic a little bit too, because I am not a particularly mini human.
That's true. You're a pretty lanky guy. So, we talked a bit about Clan. Do you have any fun stories from your last couple times, since you've gone a couple times now?
Ugh, holy moly. I mean, there are lots of, like, you know, cool stories about, like, when the vote for whether Northreach should be a kingdom or not was happening. Like, I got to stand up there in the center of the circle, or the what do they call it, the Circle of Monarchs? Council of Monarchs? I don't remember.
Something
the
like
COM. I think it's the Circle of Monarchs. I got to stand up in the middle of all of them, along with, you know, some of the other delegates from Northreach, and, like, hear every single one of them, like, vote yes. And that was super cool. Like, that was a pretty cool experience.
It sounds like it. I wish I could have been there, but, you know, life gets in the way.
But, I mean, as far as just other, like, weird and crazy things, jugging at Clan was just the most ridiculous thing.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Boo decided at the last minute that Northreach was 100% absolutely going to field the jugging team. But we just didn't have enough people, so she ended up convincing a bunch of torches to play, like, sword knights and stuff like that. Like, we had, like, 4 warlords and, like, 2 sword knights wearing Northreach tabards and, like, running around jugging with people.
That is awesome. And it also sounds like a Boo thing to do.
Yeah, it totally was. And it was it was really cool because jugging has a tendency to be played a bit like Cavalier. Like, you're a little bit fast and loose with the rules when you jug, usually, in terms of taking your shots and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular at Clan, you know, there are a lot of big fighting companies that sort of thrive on that like competitive, like drama-filled thing. And so that sort of amplifies that whole playing fast and loose the rules thing. But, when folks came up against the Northreach team, we had people that would like walk up and just say like, hey, we just want to let you guys know, like, we want to like actually play this game, and like if you guys don't slough and so on and so forth, neither will we, and blah blah blah. And like Northreach played some super clean, awesome games of jugging. Everyone was cheering. Like at one point, Deli like ripped his tunic that he was wearing. And so one of the gosh, where was he from? I feel bad now. His name is Armand, and I can't remember where he was. He was the monarch of one of the kingdoms, like down in the lower 48. I feel bad. But he ended up like taking his tunic and like giving it to Deli to wear. And then he sat there and hand sewed Deli's tunic back together and then gave it back to him.
That is amazing.
Just so cool. I mean, it was absolutely great. Both of Goran's night quests have been ridiculous. Super awesome, good time.
Oh yeah, I just realized I might actually get to see that too. So, I guess as we're starting to wind down a little bit, did you have any advice you wanted to give for like somebody stepping up to your position for your for the next coming Kingdom Regent?
Oh my goodness. Like one of my favorite sayings is that perfection is the enemy of greatness. And so I would not in particular consider myself a perfectionist, but I know that a lot of Amtgarders are your sort of like typical artsy, performance, incredible creative person, and those people tend very much towards perfectionism. And they're so wrapped up and concerned with the idea that whatever they produce, whatever they want to do, whether it's run for office or make some cool ANS thing or like try to get better at fighting or whatever, they're worried that they're not going to be perfect at it, or the best, or whatever. And so they just because they're so worried about not being perfect, they don't even try. And so as a result, don't end up being great. And so I would just encourage people to like pass that and like acknowledge the fact that like, you know what? Sometimes like you're gonna mess up, and you're going to fail, and that failure is probably going to like cause pain for other people. But it's not just like the steps forward that you need to accept. It's all the stumbles and trials and the knowledge that you're going to fail. But if you stop, or if you decide that you can't do that thing, that's where the journey ends. And that's it. And that failure or that like personal defeat becomes your destination. Don't do that. Run for office. Do your thing. Fail at a whole bunch of projects that you want to run as Kingdom Regent or whatever, and just acknowledge that that's part of the journey, and that as long as you don't let that be the destination, it won't be.
So sort of reiterating, what you're trying to say is don't let the fear of failure stop you from trying?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say, and you said it much more eloquently than I did.
I mean, I do talk for a living, so I understand. But, alright, I guess that pretty much wraps up our episode then. Minibard, it was awesome hanging out with you again. Thanks for being on the show with us.
For sure. Thank you, Hars, for having me, and thank you, the spirit of Vex that I've felt throughout this entire episode.
I'll have like a little porg floating across the screen while we do this too. That's for you, Vex.
Love it.
Alright, well, for those of you watching this at home, thank you all for watching. Tune in next time where we'll be doing a video where we'll be interviewing the Lupin Moon Monarch, Hunter. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm Hars, and you've been watching The Chopping Block. Have a good night, everybody.